Have you ever wondered why so many talented people never succeed in life? This question often circled around in Ryan's head, but he never gave it much thought. Ryan was a 15-year-old boy who lived in a small town. Everyone around him, his teachers, his classmates, even his parents, believed he was special. He had the kind of sharp mind that could pick up new things quickly. If there was a tough math problem on the board, Ryan could solve it before others had even finished reading it. If there was a football match, he could dribble past half the field without much effort. If there was a speech competition, he could go on stage without preparation and still win applause. On the surface, Ryan looked like the perfect combination of brains and talent. But behind this shining image, there was a hidden truth. Ryan was lazy. Not just, I need a short break, kind of lazy, but the kind that made him avoid hard work every single time. He loved shortcuts. He loved quick wins. He hated routines, and he hated the idea of discipline. Whenever his teachers praised him, he smiled, but deep inside, he told himself, why should I work hard when my talent already makes me better than most people? His parents often tried to correct him. His father would say, Ryan, talent is a gift, but if you don't sharpen it with effort, it will fade like an unused tool. His mother reminded him, son, life doesn't reward people who only start things. It rewards those who finish them. But Ryan would always laugh it off, replying, don't worry, Mom. Don't worry, Dad. I've got this. I don't need to practice as much as others. At school, his teachers grew increasingly frustrated. One day, his English teacher, Mr. Harris, stopped him after class and said, Ryan, you remind me of so many students I've seen in my career. They start as bright stars, but slowly they disappear because they never built consistency. Remember this. Talent will open the first door, but only discipline will keep you inside the room. Ryan nodded politely, but in his heart, he wasn't convinced. He thought teachers were exaggerating. The truth was, Ryan had already started facing small failures, but he ignored them. In football practice, his coach noticed he skipped training sessions whenever he felt bored. In group projects, his friends whispered behind his back, complaining that Ryan would do the easy part and leave the tough work for others. Even in exams, his grades were slowly dropping, not because he wasn't capable, but because he never revised properly. But Ryan brushed it all aside. I'm still better than most, he told himself. Life, however, always finds a way to teach hard lessons. And Ryan's wake-up call was just around the corner. The turning point came when Ryan's school announced an inter-school quiz competition. It was one of the biggest events of the year. Schools from across the district were sending their best students. Everyone believed Ryan would represent their school. His sharp memory and quick thinking had always made him stand out in class. The principal even said in front of the teachers, Ryan is our strongest choice. With his talent, victory is almost guaranteed. The entire school had high expectations, but Ryan, true to his lazy habits, took it lightly. His friends reminded him, Ryan, you should prepare. These competitions are tough. But Ryan laughed and replied, relax, guys. I don't need to prepare much. I've always been good at these things. My brain works fast enough. While his opponents from other schools studied every evening, revised books, and practiced mock quizzes, Ryan wasted his time on video games and social media. He told himself, I'll do fine. A few questions won't be that hard. Why waste my evenings on boring study sessions? The day of the competition finally arrived. The auditorium was packed with students, teachers, and parents from all the schools. Colorful banners hung on the walls, and the excitement in the air was electric. Ryan walked to the stage with his team, confident as always. His classmates cheered, Go Ryan! You've got this. At first, Ryan's confidence seemed justified. The host asked the opening rounds, and Ryan answered quickly, sometimes even before the timer buzzed. His team clapped, and the crowd applauded. He smirked, thinking, see? I didn't even need to prepare. I'm naturally good at this. But soon, the questions grew harder. Historical dates, scientific formulas, logical puzzles, things that required more than natural talent. Ryan began to fumble. His teammates whispered, "Come on, Ryan, think." But his mind went blank. The hours he spent scrolling through his phone instead of revising now came back to haunt him. One by one, the opposing team answered confidently. They weren't faster than Ryan, but they were prepared. Every question they faced reflected their weeks of practice. Ryan tried to keep up, but the gap widened. The audience grew silent, sensing his struggle. His palms grew sweaty, and for the first time in a long while, Ryan felt fear. The final blow came when the host asked a simple question, something Ryan had learned in class just 2 weeks ago. The entire hall waited. Ryan stared at the mic, searching his brain, but nothing came. He stuttered, I don't know. The buzzer went off. His opponents answered immediately, earning the final points that sealed Ryan's defeat. When the scores were announced, Ryan's school had lost. The auditorium erupted, not in applause, but in whispers. His classmates looked disappointed. His teammates looked angry. One of them muttered, "We trusted you, Ryan. Everyone believed in you, and you didn't even try." Ryan's face burned with shame as he walked off the stage. That night, sitting alone in his room, the weight of humiliation crushed him. He thought about the cheers that turned into silence, about the trust he had broken, and about how his laziness had cost not just him, but his whole team. For the first time, Ryan admitted the truth: talent without consistency was worthless. He remembered his teacher's words, "Talent will open the first door, but only discipline will keep you inside the room." And now, Ryan had been thrown out of that room, not because he lacked talent, but because he lacked discipline. That painful night became the beginning of Ryan's transformation. The humiliation from the quiz competition stayed with Ryan like a heavy shadow. He replayed the scene again and again in his mind, the silence of the hall, the disappointed faces, the whispers of his classmates. Every time he thought about it, he felt a sharp sting in his chest. For the first time, Ryan questioned himself deeply. Is this what I want my life to look like? People trusting me and me failing them? Always being the boy who could have done better, but never did? That night, Ryan couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling, his mind racing. Finally, he whispered to himself, something has to change. I can't keep hiding behind talent anymore. I need to learn consistency. The next morning, instead of hitting the snooze button like always, Ryan forced himself out of bed. His body resisted, his mind begged for more sleep, but he ignored it. He opened his books and studied for just 30 minutes. At first, it felt small, almost pointless. But Ryan told himself, it's not about how much I do today. It's about showing up every day, no matter what. He remembered a simple rule he had once read in a motivational article: never miss twice. If you skip a day, that's human. But skipping 2 days in a row creates a habit of failure. Ryan decided to live by that rule. If he missed one study session, he promised himself he would always bounce back the next day. At first, the process was uncomfortable. His old lazy habits fought back. When his friends called him to hang out, Ryan had to resist the urge to drop his routine. When his favorite video game released an update, he had to fight the temptation to play all night. Sometimes he slipped, but the next day he returned to his small promise: consistency over perfection. Slowly, things began to change. Instead of rushing before exams, Ryan started revising a little bit every evening. Instead of skipping football practice, he tied his shoes and went to the ground daily, even on days he didn't feel like it. His coach noticed the difference. "Ryan, you're finally putting in the work. "I'm proud of this version of you," the coach said. Ryan also began journaling. Each night, he wrote a short note about what he had done that day, whether he studied, practiced, or skipped. Seeing his own progress in writing gave him motivation. The empty pages from lazy days made him uncomfortable, and that discomfort pushed him to fill the next page with effort. His classmates, who once mocked him, started noticing the change. One of them asked, "Ryan, what happened to you? You're not the same lazy boy anymore." Ryan smiled and replied, "I realized talent is a gift, but it's useless if you don't honor it with daily effort." It wasn't easy, and it wasn't fast. Some days Ryan still felt like giving up. But every time, he remembered the humiliation of that quiz competition. He used that memory not as a wound, but as fuel. Consistency had started to reshape him, not just as a student, but as a person. And though the results weren't fully visible yet, Ryan could feel it. He was on the path to becoming someone new. Months passed since Ryan had started his journey of change. What began as 30 minutes of study and short football drills each day had now become a routine he rarely missed. At first, the progress was invisible, no sudden transformation, no magical results. But slowly, brick by brick, Ryan built something stronger than talent: discipline. In academics, the difference became clear. Instead of panicking the night before exams, Ryan walked into classrooms calm and steady. His classmates were surprised when teachers started praising his steady improvement. "Ryan, your answers are much more detailed now. You've finally learned to prepare," one teacher said, smiling. For Ryan, that praise meant more than any casual recognition he had ever received for being naturally smart. This time, it wasn't luck. It was the result of consistent effort. On the football field, the change was even more visible. Ryan, once known for skipping practice, was now the first to arrive and the last to leave. He practiced his passes, his shots, and his stamina every single day. His coach often stood watching from a distance, shaking his head in amazement. "Ryan, I always knew you had talent. But now, with discipline, you're becoming a real player." It wasn't just his teachers and coach who noticed. His classmates, who used to mock him for being lazy, began asking him for advice. One of his friends approached him after school and said, "Ryan, how do you manage to stay so consistent? I've tried, but I keep quitting." Ryan chuckled softly and replied, "It's simple. Don't aim for perfection. Just make sure you don't quit. Even small progress every day adds up." Ryan's parents also saw the transformation. His father, who once scolded him for wasting his gift, now patted him on the shoulder and said, "Son, I'm proud of you. You've finally understood the value of effort." His mother smiled as she saw him reading late at night instead of scrolling endlessly on his phone. For them, it wasn't just about grades or trophies, it was about watching their son grow into a responsible young man. But the most important change was inside Ryan himself. He no longer relied on motivation or mood to decide his actions. He realized that motivation fades, but habits stay. Each time he felt tired, he reminded himself, "I don't have to be perfect today. I just have to show up." That simple mindset became his secret weapon. The boy who once avoided effort was now embracing it. He no longer feared hard work. In fact, he found joy in it. Consistency turned into confidence, and confidence turned into results. Ryan had gone from being the lazy genius to the disciplined achiever. And while he wasn't at the top yet, everyone could see he was rising, step by step, day by day. A year later, Ryan stood once again in the same auditorium where he had faced his greatest humiliation. This time, however, the atmosphere was different. The hall was decorated for the school's annual prize ceremony. Banners of achievement lined the walls, the stage glowed under the lights, and students filled the seats with excitement. Ryan's name was on the list of awardees, something that would have sounded impossible a year ago. When his name was called, the hall erupted in applause. Ryan walked to the stage with steady steps, holding his head high. His teachers clapped proudly, his classmates cheered, and his parents watched with teary eyes. The principal announced, "This year's award for Best All-Rounder Student goes to Ryan." Not because of his natural talent, but because of his remarkable discipline and consistent effort. As Ryan held the trophy, a flood of emotions rushed through him. He remembered the night of his humiliation, the whispers of disappointment, the pain of failure. He also remembered the mornings he forced himself out of bed, the evenings he pushed himself to study, the countless times he chose discipline over laziness. This award wasn't just a prize, it was the proof of his transformation. Then came the moment when Ryan was invited to give a short speech. He took the microphone, looked at the audience, and smiled. "I want to tell you all something," he began. "A year ago, I was the boy who let my talent make me lazy. I believed talent was enough. But I learned the hard way that talent might give you a head start, but it doesn't carry you to the finish line. What truly matters is consistency." The hall grew silent, every student hanging on to his words. "I lost a competition because I wasn't consistent. I failed my team because I thought shortcuts were enough. That humiliation was the best lesson of my life. Since then, I've realized something simple but powerful: small daily actions may feel boring, but they create miracles over time. You don't need to be the smartest, the strongest, or the most gifted. You just need to show up every day. That's the real secret." He paused, then added, "So if you take anything from my story, let it be this: consistency beats talent, every single time. Don't chase perfection, chase progress. Don't quit after failure, start again. If I, a boy once called lazy, can change, then so can you." The audience broke into loud applause. His classmates looked at him with new respect. His teachers smiled with pride. His parents wiped tears from their eyes. In that moment, Ryan wasn't just a student receiving an award, he was a living example of a lesson that would stay with everyone in that hall. The lazy boy was gone. In his place stood someone stronger, wiser, and more disciplined. And as Ryan stepped off the stage, he knew deep inside that this was only the beginning of his journey. Because now he understood, consistency is not just a habit, it's the key that unlocks every door to success.